All right, so we're here at Mua Coffee and Cocktail, and we're here to do an interview with Alex Stevenson from Ninja Teacher. So,
hello.
Yeah, let's go find a seat and get to it. Chào em. Come over here and order some coffee, chào em.
This is good. Hazelnut milk tea.
I don't know if I want to go with a coffee or if I want to go with a juice. Yeah, I've been drinking quite a bit of coffee myself lately, so let's drink more. Một cafe đen đá không đường. Yeah, đúng rồi. Black iced coffee with no sugar.
Hazelnuts.
45,000 for the iced black coffee, which is like $2. Yeah, come on. Anh thích nón em. Yeah, nón lá đúng rồi. Got the traditional Vietnamese conical hat there. Yeah, so I'm crawling in here. We crawl into the jungle. So they give you a couple glasses of water here, complimentary. Nice. You usually don't get water here in Vietnam. You usually get a nice tea, Cha Da. Yeah, we're here with Alex Stevenson from Ninja Teacher. But before we get started, I just want to say thanks for giving me the opportunity to interview you. Your channel was really fundamental in terms of me moving out here and following my dreams in terms of moving abroad. So really appreciate that, man, and really appreciate all your hard work. So cheers to you for all that.
I appreciate you saying that, and it really genuinely makes me happy to see people like yourself that come out here and really enjoyed living in Vietnam. So yeah, happy to chat to you.
What's your name? I know who you are, but you know, for the people watching, what's your name? How old are you? Where are you from?
Yeah, so my name's Alex. I'm from South Africa, 32 years old, and I've been living out in Vietnam for over 8 years, and Asia for 9 years total.
When did you move to Asia?
So that was back in 2012, I guess it was, 2013 maybe. And I went out to teach English in South Korea as my first country. So went and taught for a year there, and you know, that was the first country that I moved to and lived in and taught English in.
Why did you end up moving to Asia? What was the catalyst for that?
I think that I'd been traveling a bit and got the travel bug.
Yeah.
So I went to Europe while I was in university and went to a few different countries just for a short time in each. So it wasn't an in-depth experience, but it was an opportunity to kind of see what was out there a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I knew after university that I wanted to do something like that, you know, just live abroad and go experience new places. So when I actually found out about teaching English was when a friend of mine was going to teach English in Thailand. She told me she was going. I actually called her up on the day she was leaving and said goodbye to her. And on that same day, a few hours later, a friend of mine, out of the blue, just texted me like, hey, do you want to go teach English in South Korea? So these two things that happened on the same day.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, well, this sounds like a good opportunity. So then I started looking into it and then ended up making the move.
How did you, like, when you say you looked into it, how did you find information about it? How did you get, like, who was the you?
Yeah.
Because you were that guy for me.
Yeah, that's funny you ask, because it's one of the reasons why I ended up creating a YouTube channel, because there wasn't all that much out there.
Yeah.
I remember there was one guy, I think it was called Red Dragon Diaries, and it was this guy teaching English in South Korea. All his videos were pretty much sitting in his apartment in South Korea, talking about teaching English in South Korea, which was informative, but it wasn't very detailed, didn't really show you what it was like.
Yeah.
So at that time, there's very little YouTube stuff about South Korea or, you know, teaching anywhere in the world. So that was one of the resources I found, and then, you know, I ended up just doing a bit more research on forums and blogs and stuff like that.
When exactly did you end up in Vietnam, and why did you choose to move to Vietnam?
Good question. So when I was teaching English in South Korea, I was in a smaller city, and then I was considering changing jobs and moving up to Seoul, the capital. I had a great time in South Korea, you know, traveling on the weekends, seeing the whole country. But the city I was in was kind of small, so not super exciting. But at that point, I had the opportunity to either, you know, go up to Seoul and teach there, or I also wanted to travel a bit more. So I'd saved up a bit, and at the same time, I'd heard that Vietnam was a kind of up-and-coming country for teaching. I knew someone in Hanoi that was teaching there, and they were like, yeah, come to Vietnam, it's great. Didn't see anything about it. I don't think there's a lot of content on it at that time.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to travel, so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna move to Seoul. I'm going to travel around Southeast Asia. So I traveled Thailand, Laos, Cambodia. That was a few months, 5-6 months I think it was, and then ended up in Hanoi. Yeah, and then when I was in Hanoi, I really liked it. I decided to stick around a bit. At that time, I was already starting to grow the YouTube channel and also the business behind the channel. I thought that Vietnam was a great opportunity to basically continue to do that. And after maybe about 8 months in Hanoi, I decided to move down to Ho Chi Minh City.
So what year was that when you moved to Vietnam?
So that was 2015, I think.
Okay. So what are the top 3 things you like about Vietnam?
First thing that popped into mind was riding a motorbike.
Yeah.
Because I've done some absolutely awesome road trips in Vietnam. You know, from Ho Chi Minh City to Hanoi, up in the north, the Ha Giang Loop. And as we were just chatting about earlier, just going around the city on your motorbike is super convenient and a great way to get around. Riding a bike, number 1. Number 2, Vietnamese food.
Yeah.
We just went and had a great lunch, so
yeah.
I mean, what more is there to say? Just watch the videos on both of our channels about Vietnamese food. It's great. Then lastly, I know people always say these things, but also the people here. Yep. I'll add something a bit different because everyone always talks about the Vietnamese people being really warm and friendly and welcoming, which is absolutely true. I think there's a really great expat community as well in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting people, you know, a lot of English teachers, but also people doing all sorts of things. I've met some really great people from all over the world here, and there's something about living in a different country where you can more easily meet people, I think, because they're from another country, you're from another country.
Yeah.
There's just kind of this opportunity to easily connect, and people are open to connecting, whereas maybe if you're in your home country, everyone's already got their friends and their friendship circles and stuff, and they're just less open to it.
Yep. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Absolutely. When you come out here, you have that sort of instant connection with people, that sense of adventure that you share, and that willingness and openness to meet. So to contrast that, what are 3 things that you don't like about Vietnam?
Okay. So I think one of the things that still bugs me is people pushing in line. And you know, I try my best just to meditate and, you know, let it go, but sometimes it still gets to me.
Personal
you know,
space.
Yeah, a little bit of that too. It just annoys me if I've been waiting in line and someone just like
okay,
cutting
in
line. Cutting in line. It's just quite common, and you just have to get used to it. So contrast to what I said earlier about riding a motorbike is great.
Yeah.
Also, riding a motorbike, some parts of that can be quite annoying, like people driving recklessly at times. One of the things that still blows my mind is how people pull out into the road in front of you without ever even looking.
Yep.
Literally pulling onto the road without looking left as they're coming onto the road. Like, what?
And cars do it too.
Yeah.
So that's the worst.
And they just expect you to go around them, which is how it is in Vietnam. It's your responsibility to adapt to what's in front of you.
Right.
But still, I'm kind of blown away that people do that.
It's very strange, but you know, if you're just driving carefully and slowly, I think for the most part you're going to be totally fine. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah. One more?
Yeah, one more.
Maybe the noise in Ho Chi Minh City at times. If you're in an apartment building that's like high up off the ground, you know, it's not really an issue, but sometimes there's karaoke, not in a karaoke bar or in a karaoke room, like literally on the streets. So if you have an apartment that's like on the 2nd floor and they decide to have lots of karaoke like downstairs from you, you know, you might need some earplugs.
And they don't really have a concept of like, there's people around me sometimes, like, guys, it's midnight, let's cut the karaoke down. Yeah, I totally get that. What advice do you have for people who are watching this video and thinking about moving to Vietnam? What sort of advice would you give them?
I would say the first thing you should do is try and figure out if this is something that you want to do.
Yeah.
And there's loads of resources for doing that, like Tyler's channel, my channel. But you know, just getting a sense of if this seems like a place you'd want to move to, if teaching English sounds like something you'd want to do if you're coming out here to teach English. And I think that once you get a decision around that, then it's kind of a matter of having the commitment and almost the courage to do it.
Sure.
We've been touching on that today, actually.
Yeah.
It's just making the decision to do it. A million things can come into your head about maybe I shouldn't do it because of this or that, or something that will get in the way. And yeah, there's challenges to moving abroad. It's not an easy, smooth process all the time.
Right.
But also it's quite straightforward in terms of the steps. You just need to save up enough money to do it, book a flight out here, you need to get a TEFL certification, and then you can get a job and you can start living here. So there's a lot more little steps around that.
Yeah.
But those are the big steps. So in fact, it's just a matter of making that decision to do it and pulling the trigger.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I guess once you commit to the idea of actually doing it, then like you said, kind of just taking it logical step by step and getting it done. Where do you currently live in Vietnam? Like which city, which district?
Yeah, so I'm here in Ho Chi Minh City in Tan. So not far from here, just between District 2 and District 1. I like it because it's very central. You can easily get out to District 1 if you want to spend time here.
Yeah.
I know some people living out in District 2, sometimes hang out there, and pretty much anywhere in the city you can get to quite easily. And Pham Viet Chan is a really nice area to hang out there. Lots of little bars and cafes and restaurants, so it's a nice area.
Yeah, for sure. I actually so I live in District 1 now, but I spent a few years living in Binh Thanh, and I also liked that sort of being in the center of District 2 and District 1. There's a lot of foreigners here in Ho Chi Minh City that choose to live in District 2. Tao Dien is a very popular place for foreigners to live.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I've never actually lived there, so I feel like there's two groups of people. Some people just love it there, and then some people don't want to live there.
Yeah.
And I do actually like parts of it and aspects of it, but for me the biggest thing is it's just so insular. Getting out of there and getting to anywhere in the city. I mean, it's not that far, but it feels pretty far.
It does.
It's a little bit more pricey, but the reasons I think a lot of people like it is it's a little bit more laid back there, not a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Lots of other foreigners stay there.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a expat bubble there.
It is.
I like hanging out there at times, but I prefer not to live there personally.
I think we're on this exact same page with regards to that. It does feel kind of like an insular bubble, and it seems like once people are living there, they don't really have a reason to come out. So it's always hey, come meet me in Tao Dien. And it's
Right.
Sometimes I do enjoy hanging out there as well. What are your total monthly expenses? What do you spend in a month?
So I don't really track my expenses at the moment, but my apartment's not too expensive. It's under $600 a month in a nice building with a swimming pool and a gym. Yeah, my expenses vary.
If you had to give a ballpark.
Well, I think actually most months I live under $1,000 for general expenses.
That's really good.
Yeah, I mean the last time I kind of tracked it, it was under $1,000.
In Saigon?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good.
And at times, it's maybe I spend more on certain things, like from buying things, but yeah, around there.
That's solid. It's definitely variable, isn't it? And I noticed that in your more current videos have been a little bit less willing to give an exact figure on this is what it costs to live in the place, because people are going to kind of complain about, hey, it costs way more than this, or no, it's way cheaper than that. But it really is variable. It's kind of up to you. How much do you want to spend? I'd say bare minimum, probably $700 to live in this city, and then maximum is you can go up as high as you want, right?
Right, yeah. I think it depends. Yeah, it varies a lot. Depends on the apartment you live in, where you live, how much you eat out, how much you eat Western food versus Vietnamese food, how much you order food. If you're living in a reasonable studio apartment and you're eating Vietnamese food out every day, you can live really cheaply.
Sure.
But if you're eating out at Western restaurants, you've got a high-rise fancy apartments, then you can be $2,000 a month or something like that if you're not paying attention to your spending.
For sure.
It can vary.
So have you lived in Saigon the entire time you've lived in Vietnam, or have you lived in other cities, and if so, where?
Yeah, so when I first arrived in Vietnam, I lived in Hanoi for about 8 months, up in the Tay Ho district, which is near the big lake there, which was really nice. I enjoyed it there. Hanoi is very cultural. super nice city. Then I ended up here in Ho Chi Minh City, but I also lived in Da Nang for nearly 2 years. So Da Nang is it's a coastal city. It's got nature nearby, got the beach, and more laid back. So quite a nice city. Unfortunately, not as many job opportunities for English teachers out there.
Interesting.
Because it's a smaller city. They don't have jobs in public schools there. There's no public school programs. So there's just a handful of English centers. So there's not a lot of opportunities. Otherwise, I think more people might want to go there, but in terms of all the jobs, yeah, like in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. So yeah, those are the places I lived in.
So I know it's kind of hard to do this, but if you had to like rank a city, I guess let's go like quality of life that you personally experienced. Where did you experience the highest quality of life in those three cities, Hanoi, Da Nang, or here in Saigon?
So I think Da Nang probably the highest, just because it's by the beach and I like surfing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I think it's really a nice laid back city.
Yeah.
Then Ho Chi Minh City, because it's got like all the Western amenities and things that you could possibly want here. Great nightlife, restaurants. You can live in the city and get anywhere around the city quite easily. It's just, exciting, fun city to live in. And then Hanoi after that, I found the pollution a little bit bad in Hanoi. Also, it's kind of like we were talking about Tao Dien. There's a bit of an expat bubble up in Hanoi that almost everyone seems to be in, and I felt it was harder to kind of hang out with local Vietnamese people because everyone just lived in one area, all the foreigners just lived in one area.
Okay.
And that meant there was less opportunity to kind of live and interact with locals, I found. Of course you can, and that was my experience, and I'm sure lots of people do up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, even in Hanoi, the roads are even more crazy than Ho Chi Minh, a little bit more hectic with traffic and stuff there. So
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have any really context. I've visited those cities. I visited Da Nang, I visited Hanoi, but I've never lived there. So
right.
I've only spent enough like quality time here to comment on what it's like living here, and I love living here, and I would consider living in Da Nang, I think, but I've been to Hanoi. Didn't really seem like it was for me. Did you experience any culture shock when you moved to Korea and then Vietnam versus like where you're from in South Africa?
Yeah, so when I first moved to South Korea, I got a fair bit of it. I remember when I first arrived, everything was just so different. It was very vivid and raw,
Yeah.
And that was, I don't really know what people mean when they say culture shock. I know what they mean, but like I don't know what the specific experience they're referring to is, but I just know that everything was like strange to me and very foreign. Phrase stranger in a strange land comes to mind. That's from that author, famous sci-fi author, I forget now. But anyway,
Asimov? No, maybe not. All right.
Anyway,
I threw a name out there.
It'll come to me after this video probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like everything is just kind of foreign and alien, and it just feels quite surreal. So I got that a lot when I moved to South Korea, and then also just the adjusting to everything took a little while. When I moved to Southeast Asia, I was traveling a lot, and I was kind of in that travel mode, so it wasn't too much of a shock. Obviously, Southeast Asia is quite different to East Asia, Korea, but I kind of took it in my stride a bit more, and it wasn't too much of a shock.
Yeah, I sort of feel, I guess, similarly in that everything when I came to Vietnam was very different, but I was just so eager for something different that I also took it in stride, and I never let it bother me, I guess. It was more just like a welcome difference, bring on the weird creature on a rotisserie or whatever it is,
right.
like just different stuff that you'll see here that you wouldn't see in America or in LA. I was totally ready for it. So let's talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. When did you start YouTubing?
Well, I started basically right before I left to teach abroad. I shouldn't mention this because now people are going to go back and watch those old videos. They're really bad.
That's all right. Everyone starts off bad.
I had videos where I was like in my apartment, like, this is me packing to go to South Korea, which is kind of cool to have actually because it's showing the whole journey,
Yeah.
But looking back there, a little bit cringe. But anyway, so that's when I started, and then basically I've been making videos ever since.
Yeah. So what year was that?
That was probably end of 2013 when I first left. Yeah.
Wow. So you've been on the YouTube grind for like 10 years now.
Wow, nearly 10 years, yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start your YouTube channel?
Good question. So I think that I knew I wanted to do something other than teaching even before I started teaching. I had wanted to do something entrepreneurial for quite a long time. I tried a few different things. And even thinking back to when I was young, both video and entrepreneurial, like I filmed our class play and sold it to the parents. At one point I bought a whole lot of chickens and started selling their eggs. So like I always, yeah, that was actually a disaster because we bought like 30 chickens and then they were just laying eggs everywhere and I'd lose them and it wasn't a good idea. So I think I had both the desire to do something entrepreneurial and then also I was always interested in video. I helped friends film, you know, skateboarding video, and I did a bunch of stuff when I was younger with video, like an old camcorder.
Yeah.
So I think I knew I wanted to do something with video and entrepreneurial, and I just knew that moving abroad, like I mentioned, there was not a lot of stuff out there in terms of video content. So I knew I'd kind of document it and share insights and information with people and my experiences, and I had a feeling, wow, I didn't know what that would turn into, that I could offer something of value and then turn that into a business somehow.
Yeah, no, and you absolutely have, and I think you definitely struck when the iron was hot. You know, 2013, I don't think there was very much content with regards to moving abroad and especially teaching English, so
yeah, there wasn't.
Yeah, really well done with that.
Thanks.
How did you come up with the name let me try that again. How did you come up with the name Ninja Teacher for the channel?
Yeah, so about that time when I was deciding to move abroad and start filming my experiences, I knew I had to come up with a name. At that time, I was like just looking for a name for my blog, you know, trying to find a domain name.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to go be a teacher.
Yep.
So that's half of it. And then I was going to Asia, while maybe my geography just wasn't that good, but I was like, ninjas are from Asia, right? South Korea?
Yeah.
No, Japan? Whatever. I just knew that.
Where are
ninjas,
they from?
Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, cool. I was just searching different names, and that actually was a domain that had been already bought by someone, but I saw it was expiring in, you know, a few days or something like that. So ninjateacher.com was available and it popped up and I bought it, and yeah, stuck with the name ever since then.
There you go. I like it. It's always been a catchy name. When I started following your channel, even my family started watching it and they always got a kick out of the name Ninja Teacher. They're like, that's so cool, you're going to be a ninja teacher. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we still get some random inquiries from people like, can I train to be a ninja with you? Like, no, it's train to be a teacher, not a ninja.
Do you think those are serious inquiries?
I don't know. Sometimes I think they might be.
I have a confession, Alex. No, So what is the Ninja Teacher business? Like, I know you have the YouTube channel. What is like the channel about? What's the business about? What are you doing?
Yeah, so the channel is about everything about living abroad and teaching English abroad. So lots of information around that, more specifically in Vietnam over the last few years. The business itself is to help people start moving to Vietnam and start teaching English. So what we're currently doing is running an in-person TEFL training course in Ho Chi Minh City here. So that's a 4-week-long training course. And you know, we've been offering that for many years now, and that's our primary kind of offer that we have. So you train for 4 weeks, come in, do an orientation, get your teaching certification, TEFL certification, and then we help you find a job in Vietnam. And we also have an online course now, which we launched.
Nice.
That's a nice addition to our lineup for someone who isn't ready to kind of like come out and do the in-person training, or they want to go teach in a different country, for example.
So are you just present in Vietnam right now?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, so I did the Ninja Teacher course back in 2017 and I absolutely loved it. Definitely helped me prepare to become a teacher. Cheers to you, Alex. Cheers to Ninja Teacher, and I really appreciate it. One more question for you.
Cool.
What are your plans for the future?
They will change over time, I'm
Yeah.
sure. At the moment, we're really focused on just running the best possible programs here in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I think the market's good here. There's a lot of growth in the market, actually. All the schools here, the English centers are expanding. So there's a lot of good job opportunities here. So we want to focus on, you know, running courses. Oh my gosh, there's a giant rat.
I saw that earlier. It's right over there.
I'm like seriously answering this business question and then a rat runs by. Anyway,
The
let's
rat
carry
race.
on. Yeah, the rat race. So yeah, so running courses, filling up those courses, that's the goal. We may double up and run 2 courses at the same time if we get enough demand. You know, there's always the option of expanding to different countries or different cities in Vietnam. But I think for the time being, having the base here makes sense because there's so many job opportunities in Ho Chi Minh City. I think we'll keep making video content, YouTube content about living here in Vietnam and teaching English here. Maybe in the future, I might want to do some more exploring of other places in the world and explore some other countries in the future, but we'll see.
Cool, awesome. I'll throw a link down on the description for a ninja teacher, and then also a link for Alex's YouTube channel. Definitely go subscribe to that channel if you're interested in being a teacher here or just interested in moving to Vietnam in general, because there's a ton of information on there that's super useful. And if you're having any sort of like fears or doubts about moving to Vietnam, I think it can really help you kind of get rid of those and take that leap of faith and make your dreams come true. So Alex, you know, thank you so much for coming out and, you know, giving me the opportunity to interview you and being on the channel. And yeah.
Absolutely, it's good to catch up with you and, you know, see that you're doing well in Vietnam, and yeah, it's good to talk in the video.
Awesome, really appreciate it. That's gonna be it, guys. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Leave any comments you have, like and subscribe. Love you all. Peace.